How would you like to improve your health and keep your family safe? You're listening to the Healthy Home Hacks Podcast, where we firmly believe enjoying optimal health shouldn't be a luxury. Healthy Home Authorities and husband and wife team Ron and Lisa will help you create a home environment that will level up your health. It's time to hear from the experts. Listen in on honest conversations and gain the best tips and advice. If you're ready to dive in and improve your well-being and increase your energy, you're in the right place. All right, here are your hosts, biobiologists, authors, media darlings, vicarious vegans, and avocado aficionados, Ron and Lisa Barris.
Have you ever wondered if you might have parasites? I mean, they're more common than you think. The CDC says more than 60 million people in the US are infected with parasites, from anal itching and bloating to sugar cravings and teeth grinding. I used to do this all the time, by the way, so this is making me think. You may be experiencing signs of possible infestation right now. How? They are spread by your pets, undercooked meat, yes, sorry, sushi lovers, contaminated water, food, soil, not washing your hands before eating or drinking, and more, which is making them an increasingly common health threat.
Yes, they thrive in warm weather, so the risk rises in the summer. And there's a full moon connection that our guest is going to share, so stay tuned. According to the Cleveland Clinic, parasites are organisms that live on, in, or with another organism, the host. They feed, grow, or multiply in a way that harms their host, and in this case, us. They need a host for their survival, so they rarely kill their host, but they often carry diseases that can be life-threatening. Many people may not even notice they have an infection because they have few symptoms. Others may have serious illnesses. Curious if your symptoms could be linked to parasites? Want to know how to tackle and how to prevent them? You are in the right place. Our guest today is going to dish all of the dirt.
Kim Rogers is a seasoned wellness professional with over 18 years of experience in Western medicine. Kim's journey in the medical field took an unexpected turn when her own health challenges led her on a transformative path. Struggling with endometriosis, parasites, Lyme disease, and mold poisoning. Oh, that's a doozy, wow. She embarked on a personal quest to stop taking pharmaceuticals and strive for a more holistic and natural approach.
Inspired by her own healing journey, Kim founded RogersHood Apothecary and invented the globally known, best-selling, and viral ParaFy Parasite Cleanse kit. This kit consists of handmade herbal tinctures aimed at detoxing unwanted parasites, worms, candida, heavy metals, and toxins, while also promoting health and well-being. RogersHood gained widespread recognition after Kim's personal results about parasites went viral on TikTok and Instagram, gaining millions of views and hundreds of thousands of followers, crowning her the Worm Queen.
By sharing her experiences and knowledge, she is here with us today to help you embark on your own journey. In fact, we're currently in day 17 of our 30-day cleanse. Do I look shaky? I'm not sure. Are my teeth grinding or am I just nervous? What's going on, Kim, right? So we have actually seen this firsthand, I have to tell you. So we've done the baths and we did see a worm. Yes, we did see a worm. We saw many things that were absolutely disgusting, Kim, but we appreciate you. And without further ado, welcome to the show, Worm Queen.
Guys, that was so good. Thank you.
It's too fun. This topic, how can you not have fun with it, right?
Yeah, like it's serious, but you have to smile when you talk about it because it's
Right.
so weird.
People are like, ooh, gross. And then they're Googling it right after, right? Like, do I have worms?
No, hey, Kim, did you ever imagine like when you were in high school, like one day I'll be called the Worm Queen?
No,
Right. Or aspiration.
never.
Was that in your senior yearbook? Future worm queen.
Right? I'm
Right.
future worm queen.
Goals. Well, welcome. We're so glad you're with us. I'm so happy that we connected. We connected on social. And I mean, Ron and I did our first parasite cleanse when we got married. Actually, I think it was the week like before we got married, Ron. And it was the wooing stage. So Ron was like, okay, I'm doing what? I'm doing a parasite cleanse. I'm like, yep.
I was
So,
like swing dancing, doing deworming cleanses. It was really fun time.
right. But your cleanse is, I must say, so much more robust than like the cleanses we had done in the past. But before we get into that, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your story and how did you get started in this?
Right? It's so wild because I really didn't like parasites in the field. When I worked in the field, left urgent care because I didn't like scabies and lice and worms. So it's kind of ironic. Here I am. But now I love it. I love what I'm doing. I find it fascinating. And the fact that we don't really even realize that this is happening to us, not realizing that it could, this is happening to us. And the number from the CDC of 60 million is all documented, but we don't have great testing in our country. So those are documented. I'm not in that 60 million, which I know I had parasites because literally I had to send my stool to Mexico and my water. Oh, just so you know that that number, when I use my 95% of people have parasites, that's more accurate.
I was like, I know she's going to have something to say about that because 60 million, they always underdo these numbers anyway, right? Because we're not like how many people are being tested on a regular basis for toxins, let alone parasites.
Right, or it documented correctly for it because when they test it, so I tested my stool with an independent lab and LabCorp, which is where those numbers come from. Western Medicine Labs is where that number comes from, and I tested positive from the independent lab and negative from LabCorp. Same
Oh,
stool.
Same stool sample.
Same stool sample, and it actually says at the bottom of your labs, this is not in lieu of a parasitic infection, that's the fine print, and so they can get away with it because they gave you the fine print, and this is all practicing medicine, and so that's why I'm so loud and vocal about this because we are in a medical awakening where people are realizing that what we've learned and what we've been told is so different than what we know. And so I'm just really fortunate that when I did go viral in 2021, that I have the knowledge to be able to continue this viral that I'm on. And I've been doing this every day since 2021 during my own health journey and finding out that I had mold. I'd been a year into our business. So, and then Lyme was just in 23. So really like,
Lyme was recent for you.
yes,
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So I'm still in my own health journey, but therapy for me is to help other people. And that's really what I saw when I started going viral. I had done my piece. My husband and I got our affairs in order in 2019, and we moved out to our recreational property. We knew there was only two options for me, and I wasn't looking good. And in the field, we call it circling the drain. And so I was looking bad. I was feeling bad. No doctor could help me. I had been in surgeries deep. I've had a hysterectomy. I really was not doing well. And so my husband quit his job and I quit my careers, which I used to run 25 healthcare colleges. I've authored medical books. I was a professor and I have two healthcare degrees. So this isn't just
You need to add that to your website. I didn't see that
I know I need to
on the About page.
yeah, so I'm very seasoned in the medicine and I'm seasoned in the human body. I love it. I find it very fascinating. But I come to myself and it's like, oh, I can't really figure out what's going on with me. So my husband and I decided in 2019 to move out to our recreational property and build a log home, which we did. We built it ourselves, just the two of us. I like an 1,800 square foot, beautiful log home. So it's stories.
Can you say where?
Oh, yeah, Hoodsport, Washington.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's like 2 hours from Seattle. That's where Mrs. Rogers' Hood came from.
I was going to ask you.
ah, okay.
Okay. What's it called? Port Hood?
Hoodsport.
Hood's Port.
Yeah, we call it the Hood. So I'm like, well, I'm Rogers and we live in the Hood. So, and I like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Find the So I'm like, I'll just play off that.
That's so cute. And you had a big weight loss journey as part of this too.
Right.
Was that just from the parasite cleanse or was that kind of everything, all of the healing?
Kind of all of it. That's kind of what, so there was two indications that what I was doing to curb and change my health wasn't necessarily working and something else was going on because I couldn't lose weight. So 2019, I really got into it and I started doing mushrooms. My husband started growing functional mushrooms. I just needed to figure out what was wrong. And I'm like, I guess if I'm going to do that, I might as well like have a few trips here and there too, right?
Are you real seriously though, that kind of
I'm
mushrooms?
serious.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
know if
yeah.
you meant
Okay.
medicinal, but okay. That's hilarious. Did that help or was that more
Oh my
just
God. It helped so much.
really?
When you're chronically ill and you have PTSD and anxiety, and I had medical neglect PTSD. PTSD breaks the neurons in your brain, and psilocybin and lion's mane can actually go in and heal that. And so I did a lot of research on different types of mushrooms that I could take to assist me while either figuring out where I'm going to end up or to help me heal. And so I was doing fabulous, but my weight and my skin were terrible. And I'm like, well, this is a huge indication that something else is going on. And so it was 21. So I was about a year into really diving deep into my journey and doing mushrooms on a daily. I would meditate, really just sit because I lived on the outskirts of a rainforest. So I would sit and just really meditate and really dig. And I kept hearing cleansing. I kept hearing like, check the water. So, of course, I'm like, "Oh, that's so weird." Okay, because 'cause I'm very structured. So I'm like, "This is weird." So I opened my TikTok, and this girl had said that she couldn't lose weight and her anxiety was terrible from worms. And I had thought I had worms a few years before, and I questioned my doctors about it because I would have itchy butt during the full moon, and I would have breakouts, and I would have all of the things, and I went to get a biopsy and it was gone, and they couldn't figure out why this area had a that there was a biopsy that was supposed to be done and there wasn't anything. I go, "Well, do you think I could have, like, worms?" And they're like, "No, we don't have worms in this country."
Yeah, right. Not in the US.
Yeah,
Impossible.
no, not in yeah, Mexico, even though they let their people deworm with pharmaceuticals that they can just literally go in and buy themselves. They don't need to have a prescription for theirs,
Like
and they
ivermectin and that kind of
yeah,
stuff? Yeah.
Benbendazole, Alina, they actually allow you just to go in and they kind of require it in certain things like school and sports because pinworms are so contagious. They get into your body and they're thread worms and it's a whole like they understand and they
You can inhale them, right? Can't you
yeah.
inhale? Okay, yeah. There's a
That
lot
is
of
so
doctors.
diabolical, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, all right.
There's a lot of doctors over the years. Dr. Doris Rapp, she's a famous pediatrician. She started noticing, like, check your kid's butt at night with the flashlight, put a piece of tape. I know it sounds gross, but and see, and you'll know right away if they have worms. And she was so cutting edge. I mean, she was back in the Phil Donahue days and talking about this, and people were like, what? And Dr. Clark, Dr. Hulda Clark, are you familiar with her?
Yep, I got her book back here.
I love it.
Love
The Cure
her.
for All Diseases. She was like parasites, heavy metals, toxins. These are the root of all illness, right?
Yeah. Well, they are weighted down by the heavy metals and they have a biofilm wrapped around them so they're protected. Like they're very smart, they're stealthy, they're opportunists. They know how to be hidden. And that's why when I say that number is wrong, 60 million, they're just in a cycle in those moments that someone might test negative. See, that's the thing is they cycle. So you have to go in 3 to 4 times a year. That's why we say 3 to 4 times a year with ParaFy or with symptoms. If you're on Parasite Cleanse and you're about to get off of it and you're still having symptoms, then you've just cycled them in and you need to continue.
Really? Okay, that's good to know. So if you're in the cleanse and you're like, I'm still not feeling
Keep going.
perfect, keep going. Okay.
Oh, good. You don't stop after you can go on as long as you want. Can this be like a daily maintenance that you do for the rest of your life?
It can be. I do it when I eat questionably or when I'm traveling, and then we give 40 days worth of ParaFy in that kit. So we don't just like all of a sudden 30 days and it stops. Because you can continue and finish the 40, or you can do the 30 and then in between the maintenance could be the 5 days. Because I gave enough to do 5 days over the full moon.
Oh, so once a month then? Every month you would do the 5 day?
Yeah, you can do 5 days once a month, and I give you enough to do that. I intentionally put in all of these herbs and I put in all of the ways that you can do it because this is so overwhelming because it's so weird and people don't necessarily want to talk about it because it's so odd. People will be like, "You have worms. I have worms. I'm okay with it."
Yeah.
No, but you don't now. So Kim, what does it feel
Wait, I
like,
want to
Kim?
show her sheet that comes with it because I thought it was so thorough, Kim, and just so helpful. Like the die-off symptoms, the Herxheimer reaction, like what to expect and what's in it. And you did such a good job including that. It's not overwhelming because you package it so nicely. You know exactly what to do. It's like 3 tinctures, 3 times plus I call it the Cinnabon. I told Ron, take your Cinnabon. Cinnabon.
It tastes a little
Gets
bit
him more
different than what
excited.
I'm used to, right?
Yeah.
He's like,
Not as
sure, I'll
yummy
wait
and
that.
fine.
And like I was saying, the clove, the wormwood, and the black walnut hull is pretty common that you'll find in a lot of like over-the-counter parasite cleanses. But after watching a lot of your videos and reading a lot, you realize why that's not enough and why you have to tackle the heavy metals because, I can tell we've done it before and nothing changed. Like you could just tell nothing, you don't feel any different.
That's a great point.
And those didn't have the heavy metal aspect. So can you tell us why that's such an important part?
Well, they're weighted down. So if you look at each one of the herbs, they have their own frequency for that ailment. So wormwood's ailment frequency is parasites. There's multiple other things for it, but that's, what it's really known for. And if you think about like an opera singer, when she sings and her voice gets to the same frequency as glass and it shatters, that's what I'm doing with the herbs. So each one of the ailments, like I don't think people understand how when they take a pharmaceutical, it's the frequency of that pharmaceutical that's treating just that frequency. But when you're doing something like this, you've got a bacteria, a virus, those things are being dropped while you're removing the parasite. So you can never have Epstein-Barr virus, but it's been living inside of the body of this worm. And then you're not correctly removing that virus with an herb like usnea. And so I added all of those herbs in there because each one of them has a responsibility while you're parasite cleansing.
Oh, that's
Oh,
so
wow.
interesting. It's such a cohesive kit.
Yeah.
Getting rid of the Trojan horses.
Is this true? Could you see like a parasite moving in your skin from underneath? Could you see it like climbing up your leg, or in your
I
arm?
mean, I did not, but I do have videos of people that have sent me where they've got a hookworm because that's usually the ones you can see. I had them swim out of my feet in the fulvic, and I have that on video. And I went very viral on fulvic. I went viral on
That's crazy.
the
How
other
big? Is
cleanse.
it tiny? Because the one that I saw looked like a tiny, tiny speck of thread until I put the camera and the flashlight. And then I saw it moving. I don't know if it was
That's
still
a
alive.
threadworm.
It's a
Yeah,
what?
it's still alive. It's a threadworm.
A threadworm.
Wait, how do you get those? Are those from just
They're like pinworms. They are pinworms. So pinworms, people know like the butt, right? That's when you have itchy butt. But threadworms are internal, and usually people that blow them out their nose, they're be in our heart and our lungs, and then they swim and they live in our blood, our tissue, and our muscle. So it's not like they're just in our gut.
Right, right. So that's what I saw. Okay. And I'm sure there was more. I just only zoomed in because it didn't look like anything. It just looked like a tiny little piece of thread. And then I showed around the video. I'm like, oh
It's
my
like-
God. He's like,
we
I
have
don't know
not
if I
been in
want
the
to do
tub
this.
since. No matter how much we cleaned it, we did not go back. Hey,
But
Kim,
that's
I'm
good.
like-
You want these things out of your body. You don't want them in, right?
Right.
As gross as
So Kim, how does it feel? You're part of the 5%. You have no parasites. You just walk around. Is it? You feel enlightened?
when
What-
she
what
goes
is
through the
that?
backscatter at the airport, they're like, wow.
I'm like,
She's the
"You
clean
have
one.
parasites."
What do you do when you see another 5% person? You just like wink at them, or what do you?
Yeah, like our frequencies are like
We need memes for that, right? Like, I see you.
A third eye wink. Yeah. Okay, getting back to the matter at hand, what are some of the common myths about parasites? Because I know, gosh, a couple decades ago, I thought like, wow, that's an unfortunate third world problem for people. And we don't have that here in the US. What are some other common myths about parasites?
well, I live in the first world country of the United States is what they call us, right? I live here and I live in Western medicine country. So there are a lot of Western medicine countries that have parasites. And I do know because I ship them worldwide.
Yeah, right.
I know
Oh.
the top 3 countries. Like you really cannot argue when I have like
Right.
receipts.
So you do. Okay, that's good to know, listeners. Her kits, she can ship them anywhere. That's awesome. And what else was I going to say about this?
So the top, misconceptions of all of this is humans can't catch them. And we very much can. We can catch them out of fish, which is really sad because I love sushi. I love salmon. In fact, if you do want to be more conscientious when you're eating salmon, you want to make sure the cut is the furthest away from the belly. And that comes from the Seattle Pike Market because when I go down there and talk with them all the time, they know who I am. And I've interviewed them and I'm like, so show me some fish and then show me the worms. And they're like, well, fish have worms. So which ones do you want to see? I'm like, well, which ones do you think are the least expected for people to see? And they're like, God. So they pull it out and halibut and they show me. And I'm like, oh, snap. Like, yeah, those are worms. Yeah, for sure.
Are they moving? Yeah, because, well, you're buying the fish raw, so they would be alive, or are they?
Sometimes they are. And you can't freeze. This is another misconception. You cannot freeze them to death. You can boil them only to really make sure. So all these people, when I show all of this salmon that's on my account, everybody goes, just freeze it. Here's the thing. I also have videos showing that a 46,000-year-old worm that was in permafrost woke up and started eating and giving
No.
birth.
Oh my
No,
Are you
gosh.
freezing
kidding?
them does not do anything. Everything, no matter if it's wild caught or not, is frozen normally prior to getting to you. So it's only
46,000-year-old?
46,000 from
Wow.
Russia. Yeah, a
Ugh, a
Russian
Russian?
46,000-year-old
The big
worm.
reveal. The
Yeah.
awakening. Forget Disney. It's about the worm we want to bring back. That is crazy. That is so great. I mean, I've seen the Costco videos of the salmon. I've seen these on Instagram too, and we're vegan, so we don't have to worry about it with the fish, but you can get it on produce. You can get parasites on produce, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't eat raw produce out when I'm in the world. I eat it only at home because I don't know how they prepared it. I don't know what they did. Everything I eat has to be cooked. And I'm really good friends with a gentleman who went to Haiti and he got very sick and he's like, "Oh, I'm vegan. All I did was eat like salads and stuff." And he was like, "But that's where I caught my parasite and it made me sick." So you don't really know. And I have my water and I was washing my produce with my contaminated water.
Oh, when you were traveling abroad?
No, when I lived on our property,
Oh,
because
when you
that's
lived on your
where I
property. Oh,
found out that I had more parasites. So I already knew I had parasites by this point, and then I dug deeper to find out that they were in my water. So I then tested our water in Seattle, and it is contaminated as well in Seattle because our
the city
country.
water. So the city
Yeah.
water, and did you have well water out at the?
It was a community well out in
Okay.
yeah, but yeah.
City water too. Isn't that crazy? People are really naive when it comes to the water. I mean, it's such a big topic in terms of like toxins too, like the lead and the PFAS in the water. And
Yes.
obviously we've got chlorine and fluoride and heavy metals
Your
and
balls.
people think that the chlorine kills everything. But the fact that
No, and chlorine and cryptosporidium parvium, which is what I had, actually love each other. They hang out together.
Oh, wow.
And so they don't test our water in our country for nematodes, which are physical worms, but they will test it periodically for parasites, which are like D. fragilis, Giardia, and crypto. So they'll test it for that, but they won't test it for physical worms like flatworm, roundworm, whipworm, which we had physical worms in the water there and here. And it's funny because Seattleites, and I'm lived here for 10 years, they're like, "So what do you mean you don't want the Seattle tap water? It's the best in the world." And I'm all, like, "I have receipts." Not
yeah, I have labs to prove you wrong.
So there's
Right.
basically like
Don't mess with science.
tapeworms in the waters.
Yeah,
What
you
kind of
can't
worm would
see them,
make it?
right?
you
Those
can't
worms you
see
can't see.
it's larvae is what they tested positive for roundworm, and it's
Roundworm. Okay.
Yeah,
And so
but,
you wouldn't see that.
so we just shower with filters. All of our water is filtered in our house because my teeth once or twice or 3 times with the water in the travel trailer that we're living in, which is where I found out I had mold. So it's like,
You went there to get better and then you got worse because of the
yes,
oh,
I
wow.
went there and I got sick, and so did my husband because we were living in our travel trailer while we were building our log home on our property, and it had Aspergillus niger poisoning. That's what we ended up having is black toxic mold. But I would have never known that we were living like that if I hadn't parasite cleansed because I'd done like a full year of cleansing. And then I stopped because they live harmoniously together. And when I removed the parasites, the mold took over. And my eyes started swelling shut. And I'm like on video because I was a year into this. I'm like, started our business. We're so busy and viral that I just kept going and I kept researching and I found the mold and I had my body tested and I have mold. And that's the cool thing about when you start with parasites is that it is a root cause. It might not be your only root cause, but it is a root cause of chronic illness. And toxins are really real.
That's the soundbite right there. Parasites are a root cause of chronic illness. Yeah. And then you go to the doctor and they give you the pill to mask the symptom. And then you're just perpetually living in the sick state, right? The sick care industry. And we talk about this a lot.
And then when they do give you like a pill for an antiparasitic, you're not binding. So they're not even telling you how to do a quote unquote cleanse correctly. They're going to give you 3 days worth of an antiparasitic and they lay eggs on their way out. So that's where this is so important that you then follow it up with herbs. But while you're doing the antiparasitic synthetic, that's what I call them because that's what it is a synthetically driven drug that will go in and assist with this. You need to bind and not medical advice, but this is what I did. And then you have to follow it up with a ParaFy cleanse with herbs because herbs are like my kit is all, right? So you could be taking a synthetic for a tapeworm, but the tapeworm is not your only worm in your body.
Okay.
Yes, that makes total sense. And the synthetic wouldn't do that.
Right,
Yeah,
because
that's crazy.
Yeah. So more than I think anyone ever wants to dive into. And that's probably why I'm so viral because I'll dive into it and have people understand like I am a totally different person than I was.
You look different. I saw that video. I wanted to show Ron. I didn't get to it, but where it quickly transitions how you looked before. And then you look like a totally different person. Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Look, Ron.
Oh, my
That's her.
goodness.
Is that when you were living on you're like a totally different person.
You're now
Yeah.
in the 5%, Kim.
It's just the energy though. Like the light is back in your eyes and your face and your skin. And it's amazing. So this is gross, but I thought I'd say it because I had learned this before. The reason that parasites go to the anal area, then it makes the person itch. And then the person itches. And then next thing you know, they're rubbing their nose, right? So they're smart and they're recycling back into or they're putting their hand in their ear or their mouth. And isn't that true? Because they're very smart, right? Parasites are
Very smart.
so smart.
So
Yeah.
smart. And not just that, but you're kind of fertilizing them. Like you're really making them reproduce when you itch them. And so that's why they're coming out is to lay their eggs and then you ingest them and then they're all the way down. And then they're able to go into multiple different layers of your body, specifically like your lungs and your heart. And that's a scary thing because I was having terrible breathing issues. And now I know.
And who
the
would have
good ones.
thought? You
Never,
wouldn't think.
never would have thought.
No
Ever.
one's going to connect that.
No.
Yep.
Hey, Kim,
Yep.
a little off topic. I saw a video once of a praying mantis and it was taken over by this parasite that basically controlled its whole.
Horsehair worm.
Oh my goodness. It is so free. It's like a
she knows the
zombie
name. A
being that
horsehair
walks around
worm?
that's not alive anymore, but the parasite.
How big is it? Because
They're long. They're long. I actually have a video on my phone that I was going to do today.
she's got it all ready to
There
go.
were
I want to
people
see
out,
this.
man. They like to be in
Yeah.
but
Because praying mantises can be huge,
Yeah.
right?
and the thing is they control. So the way you think about this is that parasites control and mold brainwashes. And so parasites will control your mind. And if you're familiar with toxoplasmosis, which is the cat parasite, I will go over it in case someone's not.
Yeah,
Give
go over it,
you a
please,
better
please. Because people with
idea.
cats, listen
Yes.
up. People with
And
cats
I'm not
need to
saying
hear
to
this.
get rid of your cat. I'm saying, though, that you should be conscientious that this is a possibility. And it could get tested, and they say like 60% of the population has toxoplasmosis. So when I talk about this, it's not just pregnant women that can get it. They say don't scoop cat litter while you're pregnant because it is one of the few parasites that they say can cross over to your baby while you're pregnant. That's why they say to not do it. And Patricia Arquette actually has toxo and her daughter has toxo as well. it got passed to her daughter. So she's a big advocate on toxoplasmosis. But the way you got to think about how parasites control our mind is that when a mouse or a rat have toxo, they go and cuddle up to the cat because toxo has brainwashed them to say, you have no fear. And so the next stage of toxo is an enzyme in the cat's gut. So the mouse goes to the cat and says, hey, eat me, basically. The cat eats the mouse, and then it goes to the next stage of toxo, then making toxo strong. And then you scoop the poop and you get toxo, and we are
Just by
perfect
inhaling?
proof.
Just from inhalation?
Inhaling,
Ooh.
by not washing your hands, cuddling with your cat. And it's not just cat. Like I've had people in my DMs that got it from deer. They were hunting and they cut themselves and they cut the deer's blood and they mixed and they got from it. And studies show that people that died on crotch rockets, they actually had toxo. Promiscuous women or men have toxo because you don't have that fear anymore. It goes in and it controls your mind. So if you
Really?
think about
That's
how easy
crazy.
that one parasite is to control, think about like Candida. Candida is a parasite. We all have yeast. It's an overgrowth of yeast. Anything that feeds off a host is a parasite, and it makes you want sugar. It controls what you want to eat. It's that controlling. So when you're like, why did I do that? That's not me. It probably wasn't you. It was probably a parasite or your parasite.
So the toxoplasmosis causes risky behavior
Yes.
in humans too.
Correct. Humans.
So
Mhm.
you've got someone that's a super adrenaline junkie.
Yes.
They should get tested.
Probably.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
I was watching a Joe Rogan show because Joe Rogan talks a lot about parasites, actually. It's quite crazy that nobody
It's nice
picks
that
up
it's
on
gone
it.
mainstream.
Yeah, it needs to go
What?
way more mainstream, but it's
Yeah.
crazy because people will listen and then they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, that doesn't apply to me," but it does. And so he said that people down in, like, fighters will go and get Toxo on purpose so that they don't have a fear when they're fighting, and I'm all, "Oh, that's wild because you can never get rid of it. You always have
You
it in
can't?
your body. It's always dormant if your symptoms go away, but you can never get rid of it."
You're kidding.
Wow.
So your cleanse,
It will help the symptoms. My cleanse, quote unquote, never cures anything, but the symptoms will go into a remission. And when you're in remission, then you're symptom free and then it's undetectable.
yeah. So you're
But
at
I thought
least,
it gets rid of the mother host when you go through these parasite cleanses and then you
Right.
no longer have that anymore.
Yes.
you have to go through the cycle, like she was saying. You don't want to, kind of like an antibiotic, you don't want to cut it short,
Right.
right? But this is different. You don't want to cut it short because you'll just end up back where you started.
So,
And the
Roge,
nice
I
thing
actually
is,
grew, I grew
no
up with
cheating,
2
Ron.
cats, so there's a 60% chance that I am fearless.
I had cat, but we've done our cleanse. Oh, yeah, we could still have it in us. Oh, shoot.
the thing is, you would really know that you have toxoplasmosis. And again, it can lay dormant. And then we have a lot of viruses and bacteria in our body that we just don't even know, and they were
We don't
dormant
even
and
know it's
undetected.
gonna.
Like, I have Epstein-Barr virus. I had been tested numerous times, including my spinal fluid for it, and it came back negative, and I have it. So, that's just shows you how sneaky they are.
Well, words are powerful. You no longer have it, Kim.
Right.
We're
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
recreate a
chronically
reality.
healing. That's
Yes.
what I say all the time.
Chronically
I'm
healing. I love
chronically
it. Yeah.
healing because I am. Like, these things are just labels, and a lot of labels are for insurance, and they're all treated very similar. That's the thing. And I worked in the field, so I really do understand how insurance works and how labels work. Honestly, I'm really grateful that I have the medical experience in Western medicine that I do because it does help me understand when I'm talking to people.
Right. You do it in a very relatable way too. Like you can tell that you're so knowledgeable about the topic, but you do it in a very relatable way, which I think is great. So I got to go into a little pop culture question here. I'm sure you saw all the Instagrams on Brandy Glanville, the housewife, Beverly Hills housewife, ex-housewife, she says she has a parasite in her
Right.
face
Reached out
and
to
it's
her.
figuring her face.
Mhm.
Do you believe that's a
Mhm.
parasite? I know she hasn't like treated it yet, I don't think.
Yeah, so we've reached out to her camp, and we've spoken to a couple of people that are around her, and they've spoken to her too, and there is a possibility that she'll do our cleanse at some point. But I think it was just really overwhelming, and I went really viral over talking about it. So, I feel like that needed to die down last month. And then I'll reach back out to them. But her team understands that like this is a thing. And I think it's just really embarrassing. So I feel like that's kind of where she's at with it. But I believe it's a parasite. They can go in and wreak havoc like that. There's multiple different types that can do that. Also, RFK, who we all know who that is.
Mm-hmm. RFK
He had a
Jr. Yeah.
tapeworm. He has neurocysticercosis, and he had a tapeworm eat part of his brain, and he divulged that information at the middle of
Yeah.
last year.
In his book,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, and he's talked about it when he was talking about health. So I'm still shocked that like this is more of a thing because it's so
I remember Dr. Oz did a show. Dr. Oz did a show on it years ago, and people were like, oh, and Ron and I were at that time. We were already had done a couple cleanses. We're like, why is everyone freaking out about it?
I was actually slated to be on Dr. Oz that Friday that he announced on Monday that he was gonna run, and then they canceled him. And so my show was Friday. But, we're really in infancy of our business, so I really don't think we would have been able to handle it at the time.
Yeah, the amount of exactly. Yeah,
totally.
he's awesome. We've been on his show twice. He's mold, and then another one was just health toxins in the home. We talked about pesticides and all kinds of things, mold again. And he is, it's a bummer that his show's not around. He's the real deal, and he is one of the nicest, most hardworking people that you'll meet in the biz.
That's cool.
For sure.
Maybe someday.
So
You never know.
Right.
Yeah, let's put it out there. Maybe he'll come back. So give listeners some ideas that they might have parasites. So we talked about anal itching, teeth grinding. What else?
Well, if you have pets.
If you have pets?
Yeah.
Okay. And what can you do? Like some of these people are kissing their dogs. They're letting their cats on the counter near the food. I mean, it's just like good sanitary practices, what you would say, or
Yeah, and deworming them.
deworming them.
Deworming yourself, deworming them, deworming everyone because we deworm them. So you should all do it as a family. So if you have pets, I'm going to gather to say you probably got parasites too. So, and IBS is a big one. Skin issues. We've had a lot of people do ParaFy where they had eczema and it's gone away, psoriasis and it's gone away or died down a lot every time they do the cleanse. But I also put herbs in there to assist with that for skin. So, it's a kind of a combination of the things. If you have anemia, you more than likely have a hookworm, not medical advice, but hookworms absorb iron. So they like lay on the side of your vein, like looking and feeling like your vein, and then the iron just absorbs and weighs down them even closer to your vein. So that's how the symptoms continue to go. So if you're anemic, I definitely would do a parasite cleanse. It's not going to hurt you. That's the part that like I think people think, oh my gosh, no, man, it's just really going to just inflammation's going to go down. Your mucus is going to be broken up. Your skin's going to glow. And I really want the skin to glow so that people can really see results outward because then they'll keep going. But constantly.
That's great. Those are great tips. The sugar one's a big one. I clearly must have had a lot of parasites earlier in life. And of course, we had pets. I had such a sweet tooth. I had to have something sweet after every dinner, something, whether it was a little bite of chocolate or a cookie. And Ron knows I don't eat sweets.
Oh, she does
ever.
not. Yeah.
I don't even want it. Like if I go to a party and there's cake or, vegan cake, but yeah, no, I'm like, not even vegan cupcakes. I'm like, nah, no thanks. I just don't crave sugar.
Right.
So,
because
which parasite is that?
You're not craving it. Your parasite.
If I
are craving the sugar.
Yeah, I should name him her. Which one is it that craves the sugar?
Well, candida and roundworm really live off of sugar. Well, they all live off of sugar. I just did a video actually where I showed parasites in a cube of sugar. Someone put it under a microscope and you can just see them. They're on crack. It's their crack. They literally live and love sugar. They will like expose themselves for sugar. It's wild.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Cause I remember I had a coworker who had candida. This is way back. And back then they didn't really have good candida stuff. And they were like, well, you have to starve it. You have to starve the candida. And she was on this like really, really, really strict diet because, bread turns to sugar, right? Pasta, carbs turn to sugar, rice, all of that. So no sugar means like you're really just, and even fruits have sugar, right?
Yeah. You have to be careful with some fruits. We're really restrictive on our food guide of what like watermelon. Because of it, I actually chose the strictest diet, the Candida diet, with our cookbook.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I
And
didn't
what
know
is your
that you had the
cookbook
food guide.
called
I
again?
need
What
to
is it
check that
called?
out.
Your cookbook?
It's just the community cookbook that we created for people to have a guide for when they're parasite. Everything I do is free, so you can go into my links and you can download the fast track guide that shows you how to start cleansing and how to open up your pathways. We have a drainage guide, we have a cookbook, and then we have a 600-page book if you'd like to identify your worms.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
if you can see them all, right?
Yeah, because I had like 20,000 pictures because I've been doing this for so
My
long.
God.
Wow.
Wow.
So I went through and I picked out the best pictures so you can go in, and I did multiple different versions of roundworm and egg, mucoid plaque, candida when it comes out in like sheets, it looks like dryer sheets. But then I kind of teach you in that book also what roundworm is. And so, yeah, it's all free.
The worms that came out of your feet, how big were they?
Mine was about this. It was thin,
Oh,
like a thread,
Oh.
like
but it was
this
like
long, like a
long.
foot?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Are you
Maybe not a
serious?
whole foot. Like,
Oh, okay. A
yeah,
couple
and it
Okay.
inches.
swam. That's what freaked me out, man.
Oh,
Oh,
Cause
my
like, I had
wow. That's
seen
cool.
roundworm
Dun, dun,
flukes.
dun, 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 dun,
I
dun.
yeah.
Wow.
I had s
Forget Jaws.
Oh my
This
god,
is
it
like,
was terrible. I started the video and I put my feet in and I said, "Oh, I don't feel anything. Is this what it feels like when people are messaging me? They're disappointed that they didn't see anything." And so I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I felt something move and I grabbed my phone again because I would never believe this if it wasn't on film. I would never
right. No one would believe
any
it.
of
Yeah.
this. Like, I
Right.
have to go back and watch it sometimes because I'm like, "This is so wild." And so
Did you have to pull it out or did it just come
it
out
just swam
on
out.
its?
Multiple ones swam out. There's like a fluke that's in the water, and then my husband had roundworm come out of his
Wait, how
foot.
can a fluke come out of your foot? Because they're like little almond
They
size.
you know how skinny they are? Do you know, like, they're just
Oh, they can
They look,
malleable.
they look like a
Yeah.
pumpkin seed though, right? The flukes?
Yeah, but they're, like, thin. They can do any
They can squish run,
Yeah.
she's saying.
What?
Yeah.
And they came
They're
out of your
like a
foot?
Yeah, I have a mark still on my foot.
Do you
I
really?
do, from it coming
Oh
out.
my gosh.
Boy, did it hurt?
It didn't hurt. It just felt weird, like, I felt movement.
Like you lost a friend?
Oh, that friend go.
And bye.
Wow.
Oh my God. And then you probably wanted to jump out of the tub, but then you're also like, but no, because I want this stuff coming out. So I got to
Yeah.
stay, right?
Yeah, and it was the most bizarre
Wow. I need to find those videos.
sci-fi, like, all you have to do is type in "fulvic worm queen foot soak," and I'm sure I'll pop up.
Wow.
On like YouTube? Are they on YouTube?
TikTok.
YouTube, Insta, TikTok, Google.
Everywhere.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm everywhere.
That is
That is
nuts.
crazy. Hey,
That's
hey,
nuts.
can we tease this earlier in the podcast? I want to make sure we get this addressed. What does the full moon have to do with parasites?
Yes, tell us. What is the full moon?
Okay, so there are 2 versions of this. They both equal the same one, so bear with me. All right, so the French folklore say that you should do 3 days prior to the full moon because they start to dislodge themselves out of your body, and they hop on the serotonin river, and then they're able to make their way through your body and replant their homes in other places. So your body runs higher during the full moon of serotonin. And that's just physiologically like science, right? And so because they live off of the serotonin and that's your happy hormone, they're able to make you feel crazy, lower your vibration, and make their way through your body, replanting themselves more. So the French say to start 3 days prior to the full moon, and they say that because they eat snails. And snails have a parasite worm called schistomiacin. And schistomiacin actually coats your bladder and your kidneys.
Ew.
Yeah. So
Ew, ew,
they do
ew.
deworming and have for a long time, specifically because they eat snails and they know that,
Just stop eating
Right. They
snails,
should just
guys.
stop. Right.
Just
also
stop.
50% of them at one point had toxo in France. Does that explain a lot?
The
when you-
snails did? The
No,
snails
the
had
humans.
Oh, the humans. 50%?
Yeah, they tested them
Oh,
and
wow.
50% have toxo. I don't know if they still have it, but this
That's why the
kinda
French
make
get a bad
Yeah!
rap of being
Yes.
being snooty. They're not snooty. They're just anxious.
They're just full of toxo.
So that's like, ooh, the full moon. People are crazy. So that's where that comes from. Yeah.
Yes. And so then their other flip side is that you just start the parasite cleanse on the full moon. But we recommend 3 days prior to the full moon because I do believe I had schistomiasis as well. And I never ate snails, but I did go into fresh water.
Oh,
That
okay.
is how you can catch schistomiasis.
Right.
Like
And you
a
think
fly.
of your
Okay.
whole life and all of your exposures and your whole entire life, right? I mean, some of these parasites, I'm guessing you've had since your childhood, right?
Decades. Yeah.
And they're not going. They're not going anywhere.
And they get
So if you,
passed from your mom because
oh,
if you're
right.
breastfeeding, that's a pathway. And if you've never cleansed and then you have a baby and you breastfeed, but I also believe there's so many other ways that you can catch them, but rivers, lakes, that's a big
River,
one.
yeah, fresh water.
Yeah.
So if you are doing the soak or the foot soak and you see a worm come out that's moving, is there any way that it could get back into you?
Not normally.
Okay,
Normally
well,
they're like they've been exposed and they're just trying to go away.
So don't put your face next to the water.
Yeah, don't be drinking them.
do you think you could get just as good of a result from just the foot bath, or do you think you need to do?
No, you have to do an
okay.
internal cleanse. Like,
No, I mean the tub versus the foot soak.
oh, yeah, I believe you can. I didn't do a tub. I've never done a tub, actually.
You haven't?
No,
Oh.
I've only done a
crazy.
foot soak.
Do a tub. We got to see the video.
Well, I haven't had filtered water in a tub to do a tub, and I'm very particular about my water.
Oh, that
Oh,
makes
shoot.
sense.
See, I probably just got myself more parasites. Great. I didn't do filtered water. That's a lot of filtered water
It is.
to fill the tub.
Yeah.
You lost 2
Oh,
parasites but
no.
gained 10. That's good.
See that one I have the video of? Well, I got 10 more.
Well, that's
no.
in my mind. So that's kind of what made me test my water was, well, how is this possible? This came out of me. And I do know that it came out of me. But I also then questioned water. And so I actually have been questioning water for a few months. And people in my comments were like, you got to get your water tested, Kim. And so I quit using our bidet at our house. We had like a shed that we lived in our trailer. And then we had a shed with a real toilet, a bidet, and a squatty potty. Yeah,
Fancy.
yeah, it was fancy.
It was glamping.
We were. We did it for years. But you have to have a real toilet when you're building. If you're in a, you just have to. And I quit using the bidet, but my husband kept using the bidet.
Oh.
He did not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is he
So it
not in the
helps.
5%?
He is now, but he wasn't.
No,
at
he
the
is because he
time.
used
Oh,
the
because he
bidet.
used
Yeah.
the bidet.
He
I
used-
see.
he
Oh,
used the
okay. I
bidet.
thought you meant
He
the
did.
water gave
And-
him something. Okay, no.
And you
Yeah.
might like this company, Kim, if you haven't heard of it. It's called Tushy. Have you heard of it?
I do have a tushy.
You have a Tushy,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a bidet that you can add to your. Ron and I did HSN, and we met her there, the founder. She was doing a segment selling her Tushy. Her Tushy. her Tushy.
Tushy product. Yeah.
Not her own Tushy. This conversation is going X-rated. Home Shopping Network's gone, you know,
Is it
wild.
X-rated.
Shopping
But it's Tushy, you guys, and you can actually buy it and attach it to your existing toilet. You don't have to go buy a whole new bidet. And it's pretty affordable. So, yeah, because it's like a lot of countries, that's natural. French, right? Isn't the French who
Right.
they use that? So would you say that's a good way to help?
Oh, for sure. I do, but we have our filter system hooked to the bidet. We just haven't had time to do it in our new apartment. But
Oh,
I
okay.
would never use anything like that.
The tap
out
water.
filter. Yeah, it's tap water. It's so bad.
It's tap water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ever.
Okay. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
You
I
got to have the
really
filter.
like, there's a couple of different ones that work really well. Like I like water drop. It's 3, and then you just set it behind the toilet and then you just run the cord all the way through. So it really is an easy setup. And that's how we have all of our filters. Like you come into our house and you don't touch a drop of Seattle water here, like ever. Like that's why my skin's so nice because like I'm not bathing.
Yeah. You're not going to go
down.
back now that you've tasted the good life. You're
Never,
like the
never.
worm-free life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And guys, I say this a lot on the podcast. Don't get ice cubes. Like people will spend so much money on their bottled water or their home filtration, and then they'll go out anywhere they go, Starbucks, out to eat, and not even think twice about the ice cubes, the airplane, And the ice cube water is way lower quality than the water that they even give you. Because usually they'll at least use like a charcoal filter at like a restaurant. maybe bare minimum. They're not filtering the ice cubes. I mean,
No.
it's like,
And every
remember they had
time
that
they
study
stick
on the
their hand with
airplane?
the scooper to take out ice, it's like
Yes. They
getting a little
showed a
bit of
lot of,
finger grime with your ice and putting it right in your drink. Right? It's
yeah.
gross. Okay.
Well, and
What were
mold.
you saying?
Mold.
Mold.
Inside of the
Yes.
machine.
Oh,
There's
right,
so much
right.
mold inside of an ice machine. There is. It's just common knowledge.
Nobody's cleaning it.
Yeah, no one's cleaning it. And you're using the tap water. So even a charcoal filter, we had a charcoal filter on our travel trailer. We tested that water and we tested the water from the source on our property and both tested positive. So a charcoal filter actually doesn't do it. You have to do a 5 micron or smaller filter because nematodes are 40 micron in size. So when you're trying to filter that out, you're trying to get it to be smaller. So 5 micron or smaller is what you want to do. And
5
travel
micron
with
or smaller.
So a good
Okay.
RO system or
A reverse
reverse
Yeah,
osmosis would do
reverse
that, right?
osmosis is
vapor
really
distilled.
good.
Yes, but
Yep.
okay.
People are very naive about their water filters. Like
Really
they
are
just think,
Yeah. You wouldn't drink Mexico's water. And so that's the part that when people are talking with me about this, that's what I say to them because I'm like, so would you go to Mexico? Because I really believe that our water is worse than Mexico's water. And so
Oh,
right.
you only do.
Oh, do you
I
really?
do.
Wow.
I do.
we're just
I
used
do.
to it, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
acclimated. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. There's no way we're in denial.
Let me ask her one real quick one. Do you have a whole house filter or do you use a filter on your bathroom sink
Both.
to brush your teeth?
At my log
Both.
home, it's a whole house filter, and I use blue onyx. It's 3 filters and a UV light. So anything that maybe get through that filtration system goes to UV light. And I've tested it multiple times a year. I'm pretty adamant. I test my air for mold a couple times a year, and I test my water. And so, and then we live in Seattle in an apartment as well. So underneath my sinks, I have the water drop filtration system under the sink. And in our bathrooms, it's only under cold. I only have water anyway. So it's like, I might as well just do cold. And so it's easy to hook up. It's super simple. You can do it yourself. And then you protect yourself. If that's just even too much, then you put it on your shower at least. And then use that water for the rest of your house, the shower filter water. And make sure that if you are using a 5 micron filter, that you do have an add back minerals because it's literally stripping everything. So skin's going to go dry, your hair's going to go dry. So what I did is I have 2 filters because the water here is bad, you guys. Like it's brown in like 3 showers. It's disgusting.
Oh,
And then we
wow.
brought
The
it to New
Seattle
York.
water?
Yeah. And then we
Really?
brought our filters to New York. I have a whole series on my accounts showing the different filters from Seattle and in New York and Reno. Wherever I travel, I usually will do a video showing what the water looks like. It's usually brown. So it's pretty gross. 2 showers in New York, it was black.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just their city water.
Terrible.
Wow, that's insane.
Right.
I know. Water is a whole.
It's a
Well,
whole
LA
nother.
is still jealous
it's a
because
whole
LA
thing.
doesn't have water right now for the fires. So we're a little.
LA doesn't have water in their fire hydrant, so they'll take Parasite water. They just need water.
Put out the fire. So I want to ask you really quick. So why is the heavy metal detox an important part of the cleanse?
She said that already.
Oh, I'll say it again. I love talking.
Well, yeah, okay. I guess I was thinking more, is it inflammation too or no?
Yeah, so it is inflammation. It does cause a lot of inflammation, but it weights them down. It weights the toxins. So parasites can hold 6 times their weight in toxins, heavy metals, viruses, bacteria, and spores. And that's why what happened with my eyes when I was having mold was that I was releasing the parasites, but also releasing those spores. And so wormwood will suppress those spores. But then when I was done taking the wormwood, then it was like full active. And it's the same. So while they're releasing those, you've got to have an herb. And we use cilantro. That's our heavy metal herb. If you bring in Recover, which is another one of our tinctures, it has shiitake in it. And shiitake is anti-radiation and an anti-heavy metal herb. So all of these things have like a purpose to our bodies.
Right.
But
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Nature has
Nature.
the answers, right?
It does.
Yeah. Mushrooms, especially like the medicinal mushrooms we talked about at the top. It's just incredible, like how many mushrooms and how they all have different benefits to your health, right? The adaptogens and all of that.
Right. And it's really important to know how alternatively you can take certain things to help rewire your brain so that you don't have brain fog and you feel better. and then you're able to take care of yourself better. And that's really what I tried to do in the ParaFy kit for people, is to give you 30 days of just kind of a reset and be like, oh my gosh, I really can find the energy to go and soak my produce and find the energy to put a filter on my shower, because you can't do this all at once when you're chronically healing.
Right.
Yeah. And like you said, when your energy's low, you don't want to do anything, nothing sounds. My sister-in-law has MCAS,
Okay. We're good for
mast
that.
cell activation syndrome.
Yep. You can
And
take us.
what's it?
You can take our kit with.
Oh, you could? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell her about it. There was a doctor we had on. My sister-in-law was a caller, and was talking about the weight, because there's adrenal burnout with the mast cell. And my sister-in-law lost all this weight. And she said she didn't change her diet at all. She lost like 25 pounds just right as she was getting her body detoxed. And the doctor told her that's because when you're stressed, your body will hold on to water, excess water. Do you think that happened in your case a little bit too? I know there was a lot of factors for you, but.
I do. I definitely had adrenal fatigue. I definitely had anything. I don't know for sure if I have mast cell, but I did end up finding out that I had inflammation in my brain. And so there was a lot of things that were going in, but I found out because I did my own research. Like, there wasn't a doctor guiding me on any of this. Literally, there was no one helping my husband and me do this. It was just me and him in the woods.
Wow. It's
Wow.
incredible that led to this. And like Lyme, I mean, Lyme's still not really diagnosed
Right.
appropriately.
Right.
Correct?
It's not.
But you cured, is the Lyme caused from the parasites? Would you say?
I think I had Lyme. Like, I got bit by a tick. I lived in South Dakota. Like, ticks loved me. I would go hike and then we'd have to like check me for ticks. So, but the fact that like instead
Well,
of,
Lyme is a parasite, right?
yeah,
The
it is a
Lyme
parasite.
Lyme is caused from
It's
a
a
parasite.
spirochete, just like MS. So it
Oh, okay.
burrows deep into your muscle and your tissue. That's why it's so hard to detect and so hard to get out, because it has a biofilm. It literally goes in like a corkscrew, and then it affects your muscle. And then it basically just has a biofilm that's glass, and it's hard to shatter it and expose them. But I know what to use because of all of this. And so I put in lungwort lichen in metal flush, because that is an herb that actually breaks the biofilm. So that's why our is so effective, because I put in a biofilm buster herb that, one, we've never all taken before, because it's from earth in a different way than other biofilm busters. So it's not, lungwort lichen isn't something that you would be like, oh, okay, so the usnea is hanging and the lungwort lichen is hanging with it. And you wouldn't go, oh, I should take those to like get rid of parasites and break biofilm. But I did. I realized that that's what we needed to do in our bodies out in the woods.
Wow.
Amazing. Wow. Your whole journey into the woods was like your, what do you call it? Like, not your soul's mission. What's that word? Like celestial
yeah,
prophecy.
right.
What is it called? Like when he goes on his soul's journey, or
Yeah. It was, well, and if you look,
Dark Night of the Soul, maybe a little bit
Dark
too.
Night of the
Right?
Soul for sure. And then I'm on like a hero's journey. If
Right,
you look
that's
at
it.
it,
Yes,
an
that's what it
awakening
was.
point of view, I'm on the hero's journey. And I just didn't want to die. Like, I'm building my dream log home, and I'm so sick, and I'm watching my husband kind of go through it, right? He sees his wife declining, and I'm like, oh, this is not the end for me. Like,
Yeah.
Wow,
I'm going to
Oh,
do
wow.
anything I can to get through this.
Oh, you're such a
Yeah.
winner.
And it's good.
What a winner.
I know you're a winner. And to have that hope too, I think it's really good for anyone listening who is feeling like they know something's wrong with them.
Right.
Having that thing to look forward to that help pull you through that, right? Like, this is my dream home and I'm not ready to go yet. I'm not going down like this.
And I know something's wrong. Like, I knew something was wrong with me. There was no way around it. Like, I didn't look like that 3 years before. So to decline that rapidly, like, I used to be a snowboarder. I was a derby girl. Like, I was athletic. I have 2 healthcare degrees. I was a 4.0 valedictorian. Like, I really was at the top of my game, and I declined fast. So I knew something was wrong with me, but I just couldn't get anyone to believe me. And I'm like, I'm just going to parasite cleanse and see what happens.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes you
Like,
do. You got to figure it out on your own. That's incredible.
for
Okay.
sure.
I know you've been so kind with your time, but I have one question.
I'm good.
Okay. Because I've heard you talk about this with another podcast. The endotumor.
Oh,
Did I
the
say that right?
documents.
Yeah. Can you tell our listeners real quick what the CIA connection is with this parasite?
So in 1953, they did a study with stating that the endotumor, which is internal, is the same structure as parasites. And so I actually uncovered that document in 2016 and I just set it aside. I didn't really think anything about it. They unclassified it in 2011 and then I found it in 2016. And then I went on this journey and in 2020, I started thinking about it again. And then in 2021, when I actually found out that I had parasites, I found it in my phone. Like literally, I'd done a screenshot of it. And I'm like of that age where we screenshot everything. Thank God
Yeah.
because it is a 2-page document stating that they are similar, if not the same thing.
So, and they knew that and they hid it? You're saying they hid the information, correct?
Right. Since 1953. Actually, it was first written in 1938.
Wow.
And then in 53 is when they got a hold of it and translated it because it's in a bunch of medical books.
Wow. And is it still kind of not talked about?
No, it's not talked about at all.
Oh, it's not
None of
talked
this
about.
is
So
ever
people are
talked
getting treated for a tumor
Right,
when it's really
right.
a parasite.
Mhm.
And so endotumor, what kind of specific tumor is that? Is that a standard tumor that was related to breast
I don't
cancer?
think there's-
Internal.
What is an endotumor?
It's
Where is an endo? It's an internal tumor,
Yeah.
but is it like, does it create breast cancer? I guess I'm kind of ignorant in this tumor area.
No, it's like different layers of the body are different names. And so like endometriosis is
Oh,
yeah. So it's the placement of that specific tumor.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, really wild. Really well. Well, this was incredible. Thank you so much for your time and your generosity with all of your incredible information and your passion and for doing the work that you're doing to make the world worm-free and better and healthier. To learn more about Kim Rogers, the Worm Queen, visit her at RogersHood.com. And guys, you can use code RONAMPLisa for 10% off your order. You can also find Kim on TikTok at Mrs. Rogers Hood and on Instagram at mrsrogers.hood.
And as usual, we'll have all the links in the show notes at healthyhomehacks.com. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and please stay worm-free. Yes. Thank you, Worm Queen. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
This episode of the Healthy Home Hacks podcast has ended, but be sure to subscribe for more healthy living strategies and tactics to help you create the healthy home you've always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best content. See you on the next episode.